You're letting me go after 5 years, just like that. He didn't even flinch. He just leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled like he'd practiced the gesture in front of a mirror. I need someone who understands the modern direction of our brand, Lauren. It's nothing personal. Nothing personal. I built that brand from the ground up. Every campaign, every pitch, every late night spent rewriting proposals while he drank scotch in the office next door, that was me. And now apparently I wasn't modern enough, or more accurately not Maya enough. Maya, 26, all legs and fake empathy, with her glossy curls and manufactured laughs. She used to be the intern I mentored. Now she was perched at my desk, pretending she hadn't just knifed me in the back while still wearing the bracelet I gave her on her birthday. I should have cried, or screamed. But I didn't, I smiled. Of course, I said, calm as a windless lake. It's business, I get it. I walked out with nothing but my portfolio, a dead succulent, and the last thread of dignity he hadn't yet managed to unravel. Let me back up for a second. My name's Lauren Keller, I'm 38, creative director. Or, well, was, the kind of woman who shows up early, leaves late, and knows the smell of burnt coffee better than perfume. I don't do small talk, I do results. Or at least I did, until Jonathan decided the future of innovation looked like a knockoff influencer with a talent for eyeliner and office politics. And that office, it wasn't just a job. It was a sanctuary I built after my divorce, after my mother passed, after I clawed my way back from depression with nothing but ambition and two close friends who never let me spiral, Mia and Derek. Mia, my no-nonsense neighbor and sounding board, said it first. He fired you because he's sleeping with her. Don't play dumb, Lauren. Derek, my old college buddy and tech genius, just poured the wine and nodded. They don't even hide it. He parked her car in your spot this morning. The humiliation festered under my skin, thick and hot. But what kept me up at night wasn't the betrayal. It was what he took from me. My pride, my stability, my voice. All because of a woman who once asked me how to properly format a subject line. The worst part? I knew Jonathan, knew how he thought, knew how he used people. I used to pity his wife, Elaine, with her serene dinners and pretense of peace. Now I envied her ignorance. What stung most? The silence. No goodbye email, no farewell lunch. Just a pink slip in a manila folder, slipped across a mahogany desk like a bad hand in poker. And Maya, she didn't even look at me when I passed her on the way out. Her eyes stayed glued to her screen, pretending to type. But I saw the smirk, the kind that says you never saw it coming. And maybe I didn't, but I sure as hell wasn't going to let it end there. I sat on Mia's couch, swirling wine in my glass, staring at the wall like it owed me answers. I built everything he has, I whispered. Mia crossed her arms. Then take it back. How, I asked. She looked me dead in the eye. By hitting him where it hurts. And that's when it hit me. There was one thing, one client Jonathan couldn't afford to lose. One name on our roster that held everything else together like glue. Jameson Group. Global, prestigious, and more importantly, personal. I'd built that relationship from scratch, nurtured it like a child, earned their trust over years of shared visions and late-night calls across time zones. They believed in me. The question now was, would they believe in me without him? Or had he already fed them the same lie he sold me, that I was replaceable? What would you do if someone burned everything you built just to make room for their mistress? Would you walk away quietly? Or would you make damn sure they regret ever underestimating you? He always wore that smug little silver tie clip, every day. I used to think it was a gift from his wife, a quiet show of loyalty. But now I saw it for what it was, a badge of ego, not commitment. I'm not heartless, Lauren, Jonathan said once, after denying my proposal for a mentorship program. I just believe in efficiency. I remember nodding, biting my tongue, and watching Maya scribble in her faux leather planner, pretending she understood a damn thing about the brand's soul. Efficiency, that's what he called it. 2 weeks before he fired me, I walked into the office early, as usual. The lights were still dim, the only sound was the hum of the espresso machine in the break room. I heard them before I saw them, whispers, laughter, the soft creak of leather from the conference room. I paused. Maya's voice, you said she'd never suspect. Jonathan, she doesn't, that's the beauty of it. I didn't go in, I didn't confront. I tucked the knowledge away like a blade in my pocket. Quiet, waiting, back then I still hoped I was wrong. Now I knew better, it wasn't just that he slept with her. That's cliché. It was the way he dismantled me piece by piece, using every idea I'd pitched, every relationship I'd built, and handed them over like wedding favors at her personal promotion party. Maya had this way of tilting her head when she lied. just a smidge, like she was curious about how far she could push the truth. "I admire Lauren," she said during one of our last team meetings when she was still officially my assistant. "She's been like a mentor to me." Everyone clapped. I smiled. She smirked. Later, I found out she'd already been named my replacement. That speech, a farewell, I just hadn't gotten the memo. Derek was the one who finally said it aloud. "He's not just screwing you over, Lauren, he's replacing you with someone easier to control." We were at my apartment, surrounded by takeout boxes and blueprints of a life in ruins. "He knows you're smarter than him." "You've always been smarter," Derek said. "That scares men like him." Mia chimed in from the kitchen, holding a bottle of Merlot like a gavel. "Fear in men shows up in two ways: they try to marry it or they try to destroy it. He already did the first, you dodged a bullet." I should have laughed. Instead, I stared at the picture frame on my shelf, me and Jonathan at the launch party 3 years ago, champagne flutes in hand, ambition in our eyes. He used to call me his North Star. I used to believe it. But now I saw the truth. He didn't want direction, he wanted control. And Maya, she wasn't just complicit, she was strategic. The way she mimicked my style, echoed my phrases in meetings, even began dressing in muted tones like I did. She wasn't just replacing me, she was becoming me. I bumped into her once in the hallway during my final week before the efficiency conversation. "Lauren," she said, that practiced sympathy in her tone, "I hope there's no hard feelings." I blinked. "You've got lipstick on your teeth." She touched her mouth, flustered. I walked away. That was the last time I spoke to her directly, but I wasn't the only one with a grudge. Rebecca, the junior strategist I'd mentored, called me the day after I was let go. "I just want you to know," she whispered, "everyone saw what happened, and no one respects her. She makes interns cry. And Jonathan's, he's rewriting your campaigns and calling them streamlined. Clients are confused." One of them asked where you were. I didn't need to ask which client. The Jameson Group, that was my anchor. My legacy. And suddenly I realized something powerful. Jonathan might have my title, my office, even my parking space, but he didn't have me. He didn't have my brain, my instincts, or the respect I'd built over a decade. He had a ghost in my chair, a mirror image without the soul. That night, sitting on my balcony with Mia and Derek, I said it out loud for the first time. "I'm not done." Derek raised an eyebrow. "Meaning?" "Meaning I'm going to take back what he stole, not out of spite, out of justice." Mia poured another glass, eyes glinting. "Then you'd better start planning. Because if you're going to set fire to the castle, you'd better know how to walk through the smoke." The only question was, how do you convince the kingdom to follow you again? Especially when they still think you're gone for good. It started with a box in my storage unit. Wedged between old pitch decks and forgotten prototypes was a black leather notebook. The one I kept during the early Jameson campaigns, full of meeting notes, design sketches, and more importantly, personal observations. Things no spreadsheet could capture. Jameson didn't care for trends, they cared for people, for legacy, for sincerity. I ran my hand over the embossed cover like it was sacred. "This," I whispered to myself, "is how I get back in." The first entry was dated 6 years ago, meeting with Evelyn Jameson. She hates condescension, prefers handwritten notes to email follow-ups. Obsessed with artisanal chocolate from Belgium, bring next time. I closed the notebook and smiled. Evelyn wasn't just the company's COO, she was the company. Her father had built it, and she had fought to modernize it without losing its soul. She didn't respect showboats, she respected grit. Jonathan never understood that. Maya, she probably thought Evelyn was the receptionist. I texted Derek. "LAUREN, still have access to the Creative Cloud server? Derek, for you, always, LAUREN. I need the original Jameson brand files, everything I created before the turnover." Derek, "Got it, but what's the plan?" I took a breath. Silent re-entry. I knew where Evelyn would be. Every third Thursday of the month, she attended a Women in Business forum at the Fairmont downtown. Not as a speaker, as a listener. She liked blending in, watching, absorbing. It's how she stayed sharp. No one ever expected her there. That was the point. So I showed up early, dressed in a navy power suit, subtle, clean, familiar. No bright colors, no heavy jewelry, just a small brooch she once complimented me on 2 years ago. I waited by the coffee stand until I saw her. "Evelyn." I approached slowly, respectfully, hands in view like I was entering a lion's den. She turned, surprised. "Lauren Keller." She didn't smile, but she didn't walk away either. "I won't take much of your time," I said. "I'm not here to win you back, I'm here to give you context." She sipped her espresso. "You've got 2 minutes." I handed her an envelope. Inside were 3 things: a handwritten letter, a mock-up for a campaign idea we never got to pitch, and a photo of her father at the original Jameson ribbon-cutting ceremony, framed inside a digital ad concept titled "Legacy is Loyalty." She looked at the photo for a long time. "That was my favorite picture of him," she said quietly. "I know," I replied. Then I left, no begging, no explaining, just planted the seed. Later that week, Mia barged into my apartment like a storm cloud with coffee. "You're really doing this, huh?" I nodded, already midway through a concept board pinned across my living room wall. "I thought about burning his office to the ground," she joked. "But this feels classier." "It's not about revenge," I said, although we both knew that wasn't entirely true. "It's about taking back my narrative." Derek joined us by evening, laptop in hand, projecting slides onto my wall. "You need to do more than impress Jameson," he said. "You need to remind them why they ever trusted you, personalize it, target their weak points." "Jonathan's weak point," I corrected. He smirked. "Exactly." We built it all that night. A strategic pitch deck tailored to Jameson's upcoming rebrand, something they had publicly announced but hadn't finalized. I knew their pain points, their history, their values. I even knew the contractor Evelyn once complained about for being 2 weeks late on a launch campaign. But we needed more than strategy. We needed proof. That's when Rebecca came back into play. After watching this video, may your heart feel at ease and revenge be fun without exhaustion. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep our spirits bright together. She met me after work at a bar in Midtown, eyes darting like she was leaking government secrets. "He's botching everything," she said, breathless. The new intern cried in the bathroom for an hour. "Maya's been rewriting your copy with AI and calling it visionary." I winced. "Jameson asked for a progress report," she continued. "Jonathan dodged it. Evelyn's assistant told me they're disappointed but watching." That was my opening. I created a shadow website, a mock brand vision board that reimagined Jameson's next step. Clean, empathetic, powerful, the password to access it, North Star, because I knew Evelyn would remember, and she did. 2 days later I got a call, blocked number, quiet voice. "I want a coffee," Evelyn said, "not a meeting, just coffee." We met at a bookstore cafe. No laptops, no suits, just 2 women face to face. "You were always quiet," she said, stirring her tea. "People mistook that for softness." "It's not," I replied. "No," she said, "it's steel." She paused. "I don't make decisions based on old friendships, Lauren. But I do make them based on clarity." I nodded. "You'll have it, if you'll let me show you one thing." I handed her a tablet. She tapped through the mock site, watching the interactive story unfold, listening to voiceovers I recorded late at night, tracing every layer of meaning embedded into the visuals. When she was done, she leaned back. "That tagline," she said, "legacy is loyalty." That was my father's phrase. He used to say it to me before every board meeting. "It still matters," I said. She studied me for a long time. "You don't want your old job back, do you?" "No," I said. "I want to build something better." Her eyes sparkled. "Then I think I know exactly what we can do." That night, I sat with Derek and Mia under the string lights on my balcony. "She didn't promise anything," I said, "but she's thinking." "That's all you need," Derek said. "She's in play." Mia raised her glass, "To quiet storms and open doors." And I realized then, this wasn't just about winning. It was about becoming the version of myself they'd tried to erase. But the question still burned in my chest. When the time came to face Jonathan, would I still be able to look calm? Or would I let him see just how much fire he'd lit? The day Evelyn called back, the sky was gray, not stormy, just quietly overcast like the calm before a revelation. "I've arranged a meeting," she said. "Not with the full board, just with one man who matters more than most." My heart thudded in my chest. "Who?" I asked. "Stephen Jameson, my brother." Stephen was the CEO, the heir, and notoriously hard to please. Unlike Evelyn, he was all numbers and margins, not one for sentiment or subtlety. Convincing him would mean everything, and Evelyn knew it. "He's skeptical," she warned. "Thinks I'm letting nostalgia cloud judgment." "You'll have 20 minutes, that's all." I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. "Give me 10, I said. Mia spent that evening pacing my apartment, flinging opinions at the wall like spaghetti to see what would stick. Derek manned the visuals, tweaking animations and transitions, while I practiced my pitch with all the intensity of someone preparing for a courtroom showdown. "He's not interested in pretty," Derek said. "He wants numbers, market advantage, proof." "He'll get it," I replied. What I didn't say was that I wasn't going to just ask Stephen to trust me. I was going to make it impossible not to. The meeting was in a private conference room at the Jameson Group's headquarters. Polished floors, frosted glass walls, silence like a cathedral. Stephen walked in precisely on time, no pleasantries. He sat, folded his arms, and said, "Convince me." I started without hesitation. "I'm not here to get my job back. I'm here to show you why your current leadership is undermining everything your brand stands for." He raised an eyebrow but said nothing. I launched the presentation, swift, clean, loaded with side-by-side comparisons. My original campaign timelines versus the diluted ones being pushed now. I broke down the data, client retention rates, social sentiment scores, campaign efficiency. I ended with a short video clip of Evelyn's father giving a speech 10 years ago. His voice echoed through the room. "We built this company on loyalty, not trends, not convenience." Loyalty. Then I looked Stephen dead in the eye. "You're not losing clients because of the market. You're losing them because you forgot who you are." There was silence. He tapped his pen twice on the table, the only sound in the room. "You're bold," he said. "Arrogant maybe. But precise." He stood up. "We'll be in touch." As he left, Evelyn gave me the faintest nod. That was all I needed. The next morning my phone rang. "Jonathan." I stared at the screen, every nerve in my body sharpening. Then I answered. "Lauren," he said, voice syrupy and cold. "I hear you've been busy." I said nothing. "Let me guess, Evelyn gave you a bone, thought she was doing the noble thing." Still, I said nothing. "You always were dramatic. Always needed to make a scene." Then came the laugh, low and arrogant. "You really think Jameson would hand you anything? You're a has-been. You were lucky I kept you around as long as I did." That's when I spoke. "I didn't need luck, Jonathan. I had skill, which is more than I can say for you." Click, I hung up. By noon, news hit the wire. Jameson Group announces strategic rebrand initiative led by independent consultant Lauren Keller. They didn't fire him yet, but they started pulling key accounts away from his team. Quietly, deliberately, and the first to go, the prestige automotive client I brought in 4 years ago, the one Maya had been pitching her influencer-style campaign to. That client emailed me directly. "Lauren, we'd like to work with someone who understands integrity again." And just like that, the revenge began, not with fireworks but with paper cuts. Jonathan started to unravel. Reports trickled back through Derek and Rebecca, meetings where he exploded over minor things, accusations flying like shrapnel. Maya tried to course-correct but fumbled through pitches with half-baked buzzwords and recycled ideas. Meanwhile, I worked in silence. I didn't gloat, I didn't shout my triumph, I simply kept winning. One client at a time, one truth at a time, but it wasn't just about the business anymore. It was about making him watch as everything he thought he stole turned into dust in his hands. And I wasn't done yet. Because the final piece of the puzzle, that was personal, and he never saw it coming. 2 weeks later, the letter arrived. Thick envelope, official seal, sent not to Jonathan's office but to his home. Legal. Mia stood in my kitchen, reading it over my shoulder with barely restrained glee. "Oh, this is good," she murmured. "Like popcorn and red wine good." It was from the Jameson Group's internal audit team. A formal notice requesting a full breakdown of Jonathan's recent campaign expenditures, digital correspondences, and any non-disclosed personal relationships with subordinate employees that might pose a conflict of interest. I didn't send it, Evelyn did, but it didn't take a genius to know who tipped her off. Let's just say Rebecca had forwarded me a few files before quitting her job, files Maya had carelessly left open on a shared drive. Private dinners charged to the company card. Client meetings that conveniently matched spa bookings for 2, emails that blurred every line between professional and personal. Jonathan thought no one was watching. He was wrong. Within days, the dominoes started falling. His assistant was reassigned. Maya's name vanished from the company newsletter. HR launched a silent internal probe. And then the worst blow hit. Jameson's lead legal counsel issued a statement, subtle, surgical, confirming the company's zero-tolerance policy for nepotism, financial misuse, and ethical breaches. Jonathan panicked. He called me again. This time I answered with Derek listening on speaker. "You think this is going to end well for you?" His voice cracked under the strain. "Depends on how you define well," I said calmly. "If it means watching you finally be held accountable, then yes, I'd say it's ending perfectly." He growled, "You leaked private company data. That's illegal." I smiled. "You might want to check the company's updated whistleblower policy." Page 4. Silence, click, he hung up. Later that night, Derek leaned back in his chair, arms behind his head. You've done more damage with documents than most people do with lawsuits. It's not damage, I said, it's truth. And truth has a way of tearing down weak foundations. Then came the real twist. An invitation, from the Jameson board, not for a position, for a presentation public in front of the executive team and senior partners on ethical leadership, brand restoration, and internal culture repair. They didn't just want me to clean up the mess. They wanted me to teach them how to never let it happen again. And so I stood at the front of their glass-paneled boardroom, pointer in hand, slides behind me, voice steady. Your brand isn't just a name or a logo, it's a promise. And when you break that promise from the inside out, no amount of rebranding will fix it. Culture is the brand. I let that sit. One of the partners, an older man named Harris, leaned forward. And what do you suggest, Miss Keller? I looked around the room, not just at them, but through them, to every woman like me who had ever been quietly replaced, dismissed, or discredited. I suggest you start by holding your leaders to the same standards you preach to your clients, that you reward integrity over charisma, loyalty over performance theater, substance over style. Evelyn sat at the far end of the table. She nodded once. Firm, final. The board voted to remove Jonathan from the leadership team. The official reason? Breach of conduct and failure to uphold the company's core values. Unofficially, he'd underestimated the wrong woman. Maya disappeared quietly, as they often do. No press release, no farewell post, just a wiped desk and a new intern hired with an actual resume. When I walked out of that building, I didn't feel vindicated. I felt clear. No fireworks, no parades, just the quiet satisfaction of justice done, of truth told. But as I stepped onto the sidewalk, phone buzzing with messages of congratulations and support, one thought anchored itself in my mind. Had I rebuilt enough to leave it all behind? Or was this just the beginning of something even bigger? They called it a mutual separation. Polished words for a public fall. Jonathan's name was scrubbed from the company site overnight. One day he was chief creative officer, the next, nothing but a whisper in corporate memory. But I knew better. The walls had heard him scream. The boardroom windows had seen the red flush creep up his neck when Evelyn laid out the evidence. The tremble in Maya's voice when she realized no one would shield her anymore, that wasn't fiction. I heard through Derek that Jonathan tried to negotiate an exit package. They gave him 3-month severance and a non-disclosure clause, he said, sipping his coffee like he was reporting the weather. He tried to fight it, but Evelyn had receipts. Then came the real avalanche. Clients left in waves, some quietly, others not. The biggest loss, Marlowe and Finch, a century-old client that Jonathan once bragged he could handle blindfolded. They issued a statement. We believe in leadership that aligns with our values. We are repositioning our partnerships accordingly. Translation, they'd seen enough. His reputation didn't just take a hit, it shattered. His name floated across LinkedIn forums like a cautionary tale. Recruiters stopped calling. Agencies stopped replying. And Maya, she tried to pivot, called herself a strategic brand influencer on social media. Posted airy thoughts on leadership and authenticity. But the comments dried up. Quietly, subtly, the algorithm moved on without her. Mia texted me one day with a screenshot. Maya's latest post had 2 likes, one from her mother, the other from a crypto bot. Poetic justice, Mia wrote, but the most unexpected consequence came weeks later. Jonathan's wife, Elaine, reached out. A plain email. Subject line, thank you. No body text, no signature, just those 2 words. It stopped me cold. I thought about the years Elaine spent hosting company dinners, smiling through hollow speeches, playing the part. Maybe she always knew, or maybe she found out the hard way. Either way, she saw me, and I saw her. I never replied. Some silences deserve respect. As for me, Jameson didn't offer me my old position. They offered me something better. A new division, ethical brand restoration, focused on cleaning up the corporate rot others like to ignore. They gave me a team. Rebecca joined immediately, then 2 other former colleagues who'd grown tired of old-school boys' clubs. We worked out of a smaller office downtown, glass walls, plants, quiet confidence, no ego, no ghosts. And every time I walked in, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, peace. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about creation. About becoming something not even I had imagined, someone who didn't just survive the fire but learned to carry it, guide it, use it. One afternoon, as I left the office, I passed the old building where Jonathan once held court. The windows were dark, the gold-lettered sign removed, just brick now, empty, and I didn't feel triumph, I felt freedom. That's the real revenge, isn't it? Not watching them fall, but watching yourself rise. 3 months later, I stood on a panel in front of 200 young professionals, the city skyline behind me, the microphone warm in my hand. The event was called Women Who Rebuild. Fitting. The moderator asked me, "What's the most important lesson you learned from your downfall?" I smiled, not out of habit, but from somewhere genuine. That sometimes losing everything clears the fog. You stop holding onto what was never meant for you, and you start building something that reflects who you really are. The audience was quiet, not out of boredom but resonance. I could feel it. Afterwards, a woman in her 20s approached me, nervous, unsure. I've been pushed aside in my job, passed over. I thought maybe that was just the way it is." I looked at her, really looked. "It doesn't have to be," I said. "But when you decide to change it, do it with your mind, not just your emotions. People will expect you to break. Surprise them by building." She nodded, eyes glassy. "Thank you." That moment stayed with me. Not the applause, not the interviews that came after, just her, because once upon a time I was her. Later that week, Evelyn visited the new office. She brought chocolates. Belgian, of course. She walked in, looked around at the clean lines, the sound of quiet productivity, the framed quote on the wall, and smiled. "Legacy is loyalty," she read aloud. "It always was," I said. She paused. "You've turned this place into something more than what we had before." I didn't deny it, because it was true. What we were building wasn't just profitable, it was principled. We mentored, we coached, we told the truth even when it hurt. And we taught others that success built on manipulation isn't success at all. It's scaffolding waiting to collapse. The final piece came a few weeks later, a small package on my desk. No name, no return address. Inside was the silver tie clip, Jonathan's. I turned it over. On the back was a single engraving, North Star. Derek raised an eyebrow when I showed him. Creepy or poetic? "Maybe both," I said, placing it in my drawer. Not out of sentiment, out of memory, to remind myself what it felt like to be underestimated and what came after. The journey hadn't made me invincible, it made me intentional. That's the difference. I still wore the same perfume. Still showed up early. Still took my coffee black. But the woman who walked into the room now didn't ask to be seen. She was seen. Mia joked once, "You're the most dangerous kind of woman now." I asked, "Why's that?" "Because you don't need anyone's permission to take up space." I laughed. She wasn't wrong. And as I locked up the office one evening, lights dimmed, skyline glowing, I stood for a moment with my hand on the door, just breathing. This wasn't a comeback. It was a beginning, because some stories don't end in destruction. They end in rebirth, and sometimes the best revenge is never needing revenge again.